Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in New Hampshire, Oregon, and Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/football.
Welcome again to Bear Bets, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. DraftKings Sportsbook, the number one place to bet touchdowns this season. And this week, new customers bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Download the DK Sportsbook app, use the code BEARBETS. That's BEARBETS, 2 words when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. College football playoff time is upon us. It's really an exciting week. We got the first weekend, the first games of the 12-team playoff. So, Geoff, I am excited as well. I know you are excited. Yes. Sammy P and Will Hill will be excited when they join us in a little bit. You know what else was exciting? It's a very good... You hear about when you lose all the time.
Yes.
But our producer went back and looked at our best bets that we gave it on the pod this year. Both of us 10-6 during the regular season, and you added an 11th win with Memphis -3 last night.
Yeah, it was a good year in college football. It feels like that sport compared to the NFL is a little more stat-based, right, Bear? Like matchup-based. The NFL feels like it's a free-for-all every week. I don't know with the NFL. College feels a little more uniform to make some good wagers. I've talked about this for a while. I mostly just wager on a couple of conferences, teams I've followed for years and years, which seems to be a winning way. You tend to go the other direction where you're looking at Rice and Temple and the UTSAs and the Marshalls, which works for you as well. So many ways to make money. I'm glad we're able to help everyone do that this season.
Yeah, the NFL kind of feels like bowl season in college football with you basically flip a coin each week. You can kind of figure out who's going to wind up winning. But we had some success. We're going to pat ourselves in the back with Travis Hunter future. Yes. It's 60-1. That worked out well for us. However, there's certainly some bets that we wish we could have back. I think for me it would probably be my confidence in Rice going over the season win total and potentially winning the AAC. Look, it was 16-1 or whatever the hell they were to win the AAC, but Rice wound up firing their coach midway through the year. Didn't sniff a conference title. Didn't sniff 6.5 wins as either. Sully has a Bear Notre Dame 10.5 here in the. Under 10.5 wins. I'd make that bet again. They lost to a damn MAC team at home and then found a way to win their other 11 games. So you know what? I'm okay with losing that one. I would make that bet again, Geoff. But I think Rice was my biggest swing and a miss this year.
Oh, my biggest swing and a miss was the Arizona State Sun Devils, Bear. I had him 2 ways. I had him under 4.5 wins and under 2.5 conference wins. It's funny. I think we're going to have to look at maybe some of the schedules a little differently with the transfer portal now. We looked at the schedule for Arizona State, Bear, and it was like the top 6 teams that were favored to win the conference were all on the schedule. And ended up being that the teams that were at the bottom were actually the top of the conference, right? So wrong in Arizona State. I did throw Iowa as a playoff team. I did sort of believe that. I mean, I made the wager, Bear. I did not believe it, but that was definitely a shot in the dark there. I will say this is look. We're talking about wagers we lost. I will say, Bear. I want to give a shout out to Sunj. Got me home there. My Rutgers win total over at the very end. Thank you guys. I'm not going back there next year, Bear. I've made a smart determination. No more Rutgers win totals ever. But Arizona State was by far my biggest miss of the season. Colorado to some extent too. I thought they'd be 6-6. They won 9 games. I didn't wager on that one, but we're very we talk a lot of Colorado. They're a popular team. I said they'd go just slightly over, but the 6 wins, they were much better than I thought they'd be.
Yeah, I want to give you a little bit of. I want to back you up a little bit and give you a little bit of credit for the Iowa playoff bet because I think your mindset was right. you just chose the wrong team. Iowa would have been Indiana. Like Indiana making the playoff was a complete anomaly from completely out of nowhere. So you had the right idea looking for a price to potentially be that team. But at the same time, like I think that's what we're going to have to do moving forward. We have to look at these schedules and don't be afraid to take some chances with some of these long shots to potentially make the college football playoff, go over their season win total to plus money, because I think we saw this week with Indiana, with Arizona State, and certainly some other teams, the opportunity is there to maybe get a nice plus money score. Will you go for a plus money score with Sunj against Kansas State in the bowl game? We'll find out. Maybe that game will get kicked around in the gambling group chat. Jeff and I, again, welcomed in by Will Hill and Sammy P to talk about the first ever game in the 12-team college football playoff Friday night in South Bend. Hopefully going to get some weather. Indiana at Notre Dame. Right now, the Irish is 7-point favorite, total of 51. I don't think it's going to be a very high-scoring game at all. You look at Indiana against the two real defenses the Hoosiers played this year, Ohio State and Michigan. Didn't even have 400 yards combined in those two games. Curtis Rourke, 8 of 18, 68 yards against Ohio State. You look at how the Hoosiers did outside of that first drive and that second drive, the final drive rather, against Ohio State. Didn't do much in the second half against Michigan. At the same time, on the flip side, I've been critical of IU and their schedule. Only two teams with the winning record, but they do have the number one rush defense in the country. Step up, but I think IU's defense holds their own here. I like under, Sammy. What about you?
The Indiana Bowl. Woo! Notre Dame, Indiana. I will say the move off the hook from 7.5 to 7 is pretty telling as limits get higher and higher. And I have Notre Dame, as you guys know, and I've texted you for about a week now, Notre Dame to win the whole thing at 10-1, hoping that they can just beat Indiana, beat Georgia, and then I could free roll it from there. I'm a little nervous to see that thing move from 7.5 to 7. I don't know, Will. I was asking a couple guys, how much are the black uniforms worth at Notre Dame? I didn't get any text back on that one.
Yeah, I mean, the atmosphere in this game is just going to be so incredible. Friday night in South Bend, as Bear mentioned, a little weather, maybe some snow. I mean, this is just going to be so much fun to watch. I completely co-sign on the under. I think both teams will have trouble moving the ball, blocking. I do think Indiana holds up defensively. But if Indiana is going to hang it within this number and pull off the upset, I think the question is, can they put pressure on Notre Dame? Because Notre Dame, ever since that loss to Northern Illinois, was it week 2? They've just had it free and easy. They've had it, leading on the scoreboard, ahead of the down and distance. They're not in 3rd and long. They're not trailing. Can you put them in 3rd and 7? Can you make them trail 10-0 where they're passing downs only and their passing game gets tested? Because I still have questions, Jeff. Are they that good of a passing team? We know they have a good running game. We know they're good defensively, but can they drop back and pass him? Leonard has to win this game by himself. Can he do it? I think it's like a 24-21 game. I'm going to take Indiana plus the points, and I am going to sprinkle Indiana here on the money line, Jeff.
The one place where this game is won or lost is going to be Notre Dame on first down, because, as you mentioned, Will, Notre Dame 3rd and 7 plus 3rd and 11, one of the worst teams in the country converting to first down, right? Because that's a Riley Leonard situation where he has to pass the football. Indiana has a good run defense. So if Notre Dame is winning first downs on offense, they're getting 4 yards, they're getting 6 yards running the football, play action pass, or doing those type of things that they need to sort of make third down manageable. I think they run away with this game. So the question becomes, again, can Indiana stop them in those moments? I lean Notre Dame over 60 minutes if I can get 7 here. Guys, I like Riley Leonard over 52.5 rushing yards in this game. I think that with how much zone Indiana plays, that's almost number 1 in the country amount of zone, he's going to have to scramble on 3rd downs and making plays when no one's open, and using his legs in the run game, Bear. So I like Leonard to have a big game on the ground for them. I lean, again, over 60 minutes. I lean Irish if I can get a 7 here to cover the number.
Well, this is certainly a Notre Dame team that had better than a 2-yard per play advantage against Power 4 teams this year. And Sammy, I wonder if that game against USC might have swayed some people as well. I mean, USC averaged over 7 yards a play, 360 yards through the air, nearly 200 rushing. So maybe there might be some flaws and some cracks for that Notre Dame defense against maybe a dual threat offense, which certainly Indiana could yield on Friday night. I'd certainly say the marquee game of the first weekend of the college football playoff is Saturday night in Columbus, Tennessee at Ohio State. We're looking at Ohio State here, 7.5 point favorite, total around 46 and a half or so. Numbers come down a little bit from the 47.5 that it was. And of course, this will be the DraftKings Super 6 game of the week. Be sure to check out foxsports.com. We'll have a column coming out there for all of your Super 6 information. And the question obviously going to be, what will the outcome of Ohio State Tennessee be? And I guess I'll take first swing here. I'm going to lay the points with Ohio State. I think the fact that the number is stayed north of 7 tells me that the books are kind of comfortable with the exposure here and allowing money to come in on Tennessee. It reminds me a little bit of that Georgia game where we saw that number a little higher than expected, and a lot of people liked Tennessee in that game in Athens a couple weeks back, and Georgia did wind up winning and covering going away in a game that they trailed earlier. I also just wonder about the Vols on the road here. You look at the 3 games at Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Georgia. Yeah, they had a true road game. I don't call the game in Nashville against Vandy a true road game. The stadium's 50-50 at worst with Tennessee fans. So you look at those 3 games, 56 total points, 330 yards a game. Nico threw for a total of 519 yards in those 3 games. I worry about that offense on the road in Columbus against what I think is a really good Ohio State defense. The defense has been lights out since the loss at Oregon. So I did play Ohio State minus 7.5. Will, I do get the respect for Tennessee, and can that defensive line dominate the game and certainly cause Will Howard to implode? Yes, but you got to take a stand one way or another, and I'm gonna stand with Ohio State.
Yeah, you might be the first person I've heard pick Ohio State and lay the points with them. I am on Tennessee. It does worry me that everyone seems to be on Tennessee. And you laid out the concerns. Tennessee on the road, Nico on the road, but I just can't get past the matchup of the Ohio State front with the left tackle out, the center out, being able to block Tennessee. Tennessee just has monster players on the defensive line. And if you're going to take away the run, take away the inside run, then it turns into a Will Howard game. Do you really want to be laying points with Will Howard? I don't. I think, again, a lot of these games this weekend are going to be close, lower scoring. I think Nico, look, it's been a really disappointing season, obviously, but he has played a little bit better the last month or so. So I'll take Tennessee to cover. I'll take Tennessee to win a close game here, Sammy.
Money line. All right. Total's been decked down the most. That's been the biggest mover. Open 47, now 45.5 at circa. DraftKings still has a 46 for you if you're looking for a good place to bet the under. There it is. The 7 is very important to me. And I'm honestly a little surprised that we haven't, a lot like we saw the 7.5 disappear on Indiana. It hasn't really gone anywhere on Tennessee yet. And I want to lay 7. Like, I'm not laying 7.5. There's no way I'm winning 21-14 or 28-27.
Would you buy it, Sammy? I know you hate buying points and teasing things and buying totals and numbers in college. Would you buy it and pay a little extra juice to lay 7?
No, I would just open Ohio State in a money line parlay and just fill it with the Chiefs down the road when everybody bets against the Chiefs again. I had so many parlays with Kansas City money line as a 4-point favorite against Jameis. It made me sick. But these are the things you have to do. I'm not paying $1.35, $1.40 to buy the 7. That's not happening. So if it gets to 7, I will bet it, Geoff. I certainly will. Yeah. It's weird, though, because a lot of Tennessee love has entered the market and the content, and we see a lot of videos and share a lot of stuff. Tennessee's very popular, but it's still 7.5. Like, why haven't the books moved to 7? That's a little alarming to me.
Well, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the love for Tennessee is more of a fate of Ohio State, right? It's not that we think Tennessee is better than Ohio State. It's that we don't think Will Howard is good enough to win this game or cover this game. And we don't know what the mental state of Ohio State is. That, to me, is the biggest thing. I don't have a wager on this game yet. I kind of want to see the first drive of the game. If they come out and throw the ball to Ibuka and Smith 7 times in the first drive, sign me up for Ohio State. They're going to win this game by probably a lot. If they come out and try to pound the ball like they did against Michigan, and we're going to control the line of scrimmage, and we're going to be the more physical team, they're probably going to lose this game. So, it just depends mentally, in my opinion, how they are. We have never seen a situation before in college football where a team has lost a rivalry game the way that Ohio State did, 2 weeks ago now, and has to come back and play for a championship. Never been done before. So how are they mentally? How's the game plan going to be? Like, I have all these questions that don't really revolve around the football field because I think Ohio State has better players. We know they do. That's not a surprise. Bear laid out Tennessee's offense on the road. I mean, there's all these disadvantages for Tennessee. But if Ohio State is not mentally ready to play this game, if they call another game plan like they did against Michigan, they might lose this game, Bear. So I'm sort of waiting to see how this goes and maybe finding a place to jump in live at some point. But I have nothing right now because I don't know what Ohio State's kind of mental makeup is heading into this game.
And Sammy, just to get the juices flowing a little bit, there is a 7 minus 15 at DraftKings right now, and there is a 7 minus 19 offshore. So maybe you're going to get there. I don't know, but it's 7.5, 10 everywhere else. But if you want to lay 15, DraftKings does have a 7. You know how we talked about on the NFL pod last week, Jeff, you were mentioning about how the Eagles and the receivers wanting the ball, and it added up to an A.J. Brown over, and clearly he went over early in the game. He scored an anytime touchdown. We've talked about Ohio State and needing to get their wide receivers the ball. Like, isn't like Jeremiah Smith anytime touchdown like staring you right in the face here? They clearly need to get him and Ibuka of the ball. That's the way to attack and kind of minimize the advantage that the Vols have on that defensive line inside. Isn't a Jeremiah Smith anytime touchdown worth the play here, guys?
Maybe, but again, we're back to Will Howard having to throw the ball to get this touchdown prop to hit, right, Bear? Like, it's different when A.J. Brown is being thrown the ball by Jalen Hurts and a very specific game plan to get the ball to him early in that game, and it obviously worked. He had 5 receptions in the first half. I don't know, Will. I don't play this prop market like I do in the NFL. I agree with Bear that they probably need to pass the ball, and if they do, it is Jeremiah Smith who is the best wide receiver on that team.
Do you have a number for that, Bear? Is this going to be a real bet or just a fun bet?
This will be a real bet. I believe I saw it around minus 105 or so. I did play it. I did play it yesterday. I did play it on we're recording this on Wednesday. I did play it Tuesday at DraftKings. I don't have the updated number, but it wasn't too much, and it is a real bet for me and my account. So it will if it wins, it'll be great. If it loses, it will not be.
The
great.
Push. It's a win or a push. It's a great way to go through life. I just worry with these two when you're not getting the two-way market, you're not always getting the best bang for your buck. But the logic is certainly very sound.
And to answer your question, Will, Jeremiah Smith anytime touchdown plus 105. So I thought there was a 105 in there. I couldn't remember if it was plus or minus. So a little plus money. It's one-way market, yeah, but I think JJ's going to have a big game in the cold there on Saturday night in Columbus. So we'll see how the weather may affect it there. Weather should not be an issue. Saturday in Austin, Texas minus 12 against Clemson. A lot of 12s popping up here. I have a hard time seeing Clemson score points in this game. I just don't think they're going to be able to move the ball. You hate playing like simplistic box score type situation here, but they scored 3 against Georgia in the season opener. They scored 14 at home against South Carolina, 2 SEC teams. Now you're going against another SEC defense on its home field. You're not going to be able to run the ball at all. This is going to be up to Klubnik to do whatever he can against arguably the best defense in the country. I played Clemson under 19.5 as my play in this game. I get the appreciation for a double-digit underdog and like people wanting to see a close game, but at the same time, I think this game could get out of hand. I just don't have a lot of faith and confidence in Clemson here to go to Austin and really keep this game close.
Yeah, I can't get there with yours. I mean, I think if Texas plays their A game, if both teams play their A game, Texas wins, and they probably win comfortably. If both teams play their B game, Texas probably wins comfortably. Again, I think the start of these games is going to be so important because if Texas falls behind early, you have that awkwardness of, hey, is maybe our best quarterback on the bench? What do we do with Arch? Ewers is just so up and down. The Michigan game, he played outstanding, but the Georgia games and some of these other times, he's just looked really spotty. So I think Clemson comes in this game fast and loose. It was just a few weeks ago where they were dead in the water, absolutely dead to rights. They lose to South Carolina. They're not going to the playoff. They're not going to the ACC title game. And then they get a gift from the gods in Mario Cristobal where Syracuse comes back from 21-0, and all of a sudden they're in the title game. They're in the playoffs.
Love you too.
case anyone that forgot. So it would be a lean towards Clemson. I do think that under team total is a good way to go, though. So I don't know how much, Sammy, that Clemson does sustain offense here.
Well, you said what I was going to say. I think the best quarterback at Texas is on the bench. And it's not to say that Arch should start this game, but I thought they should have made the move to Arch a month ago, 6 weeks ago, and move on. And now you're seeing all these stories about Quinn Ewers might go to another school and take a huge NIL deal. And you're thinking, Geoff, that's exactly what I want my quarterback thinking about before the college football playoff. Like, oh, maybe I'll go to Ohio State, or maybe I'll go to wherever. Like, that's not what I want my quarterback to be thinking about before the freaking college football playoff. And, the other thing, we make fun of Ryan Day and we make fun of James Franklin. When has Steve Sarkisian ever won a big game in college football?
Correct.
Alabama. Down there and down.
Oh, he's not the head coach, though. He had
No, they beat him last year, right? They went to Bama and won that game.
Oh, yeah. We'll edit that part out.
We'll edit that part out. You're right there. Let's smack you on the ruler slap. Catholic school
big
style.
Big game in early September, Geoff, for Sark. There you go. Nice win. Prove it to me in December.
Yeah, I'm with you generally on Texas here, guys. I mean, I think we've all said the things that are in general consensus about them, right? I mean, in bigger games, Quinn Ewers in the last year and a change has not played as well. I mean, you look at that Washington game last year in the postseason, he played okay, but there were opportunities to win that game, and he didn't do that. There's opportunities against Georgia. He didn't do that either. Like, he just sort of in these big moments, he hasn't come through as well as we think against the better competition. The question is Clemson that better competition? I'll give you one sort of situation to look out for. Clemson is poorer against the run. They're pretty good against the pass on defense. So if they're able to sort of stop the run in early downs to force Quinn Ewers and having to pass the football, I do like Clemson's opportunity to make this game a lot closer than it probably needs to be. And again, all the pressure's on Texas. They're at home in this game. The weather's not bad. We mentioned, right, Clemson's not supposed to be here. It's supposed to be someone else. They can play loose and free and basically an extra opportunity to get on the field, trick plays, like all this crazy things they can attempt here. But I just think in the end, the talent for Texas is too much for Clemson to deal with. And I don't have a wager in this game yet. I would lean Texas to cover this number. I think it's too much over 60 minutes for Clemson to handle. They're just not as good. And even if Quinn Ewers plays a B game, I still think they can cover this game unless some weird things happen, which is certainly possible. If they go to Arch Manning, though, Texas, I think, covers this game pretty easily.
Yeah, I was looking to see if DraftKings had posted a Wisner rushing yards prop yet. I don't see an actual total up there, but it's probably going to be around 83 or 82 or so. I see 80, or actually, should I take that back? It's probably around 87 or 88. I see 90 plus yards is minus 105. So I'm curious because Clemson's been gashed at times this year. Louisville had a lot of success on the ground against them. So maybe Wisner, a rushing yardage over would be the way to go because they may not have Bond. They should have Banks, their tackle back in the lineup as well. So kind of a little bit of a give and take there. You lose one of your best wide receivers still out, but you get an offensive lineman back. It should help. It's just, boy, like you said, Clemson finding its way into the SEC title game and finding its way here. Is pretty remarkable, but I would expect Texas to get the win here and keep Clemson's offense in check. And I guess the only other game we at least this week we haven't talked about is SMU at Penn State, the runner-up in the ACC, a team that maybe it's weird because this is the 6-11 game, and it kind of reminds me in a sense of like an NCAA tournament 6-11 game where maybe SMU's the 11 seed that really doesn't belong, and people are just kind of dismissing them. And then they come out and maybe they pull an upset, or at least they scared the living daylights out of the 6 seed here. I was a little perplexed by that Big Ten championship game with how, I don't say perplexed, from the Oregon side, I was perplexed, but I was really impressed with what Penn State did offensively against Oregon. Like I had a much higher impression of the Oregon defense going into that game than I did coming out. The Penn State did what they wanted offensively almost all night long. Aller played really well. He had a pick late that ended the deal. but they ran the ball well. And I just wonder if SMU with Jennings and Pritchard Smith, if they have the ability to kind of do some of the similar things that Oregon was able to do in that game on the flip when moving the ball against the Penn State defense on the flip side rather. I'm like Sammy said, he was waiting for the 7 or to get a 7 at -110 for Ohio State and Tennessee. I'm waiting on a 9. If I can get a 9 with SMU, I'm going to take SMU +9 here because I do think SMU can do some things offensively to potentially give Penn State some problems. And I wonder a little bit about Penn State on the offensive side of the ball too. It's not the biggest issue in the world, but losing Drew Probula, I think, does take a little bit of an element of James Franklin and Andy Koldenicki's playbook away. They liked bringing him in on a lot of design quarterback runs. They had some packages for him. He gave them a spark at Wisconsin in a big game. So Probula going to the transfer portal really does affect the Penn State offense here. And is it the difference in them winning and losing? I don't know if I'd go that far. But if I can get a 9 here with Penn State, I'm going to do it. And maybe take even a little SMU money line as well, because everyone was talking about like one of the biggest things that they were looking forward to with the college football playoff being expanded to 12 teams is we're going to get upset. See, you put these teams in, anything can happen. Well, let's see if we get an upset. I think of all the underdogs in this first round, the 4 teams playing on Saturday, I think SMU is the most likely one to win. Geoff, agree, disagree? I know I gave you a little duck slander there for you to
I heard that. Don't
follow
worry.
up on.
Yeah, I'll bring my jersey out next week. Don't worry. Look, I think we're on opposite sides of this one, Bear, and we'll get to my best bet in a little bit. Let's talk weather. This is the first time we had opportunity on the show to talk this, right? And I see college football people say, well, how big of a deal is it, right? And this and that. The thing about it, guys, in college football, never been done before. Most of the time, the season ends right after Thanksgiving. There's rarely weather games. And if there are, they're typically games that are played in conference, rivalry games where teams are used to the same weather. And all the time in the NFL, when we handicap games, we talk about warm weather team, going to cold weather city. Look at Mike McDaniel's face every time that we talk about the Dolphins playing in the Northeast. Like, he looks miserable, right? We talk about this all the time. And yet, I think we're ignoring this a little bit in this game. I know it's not always warm in Dallas. It was 75 yesterday. It's in the 50s today, 60 tomorrow, kind of fluctuating. It's going to be cold at Penn State this weekend. This SMU team has not played in this before. That does matter. We use it in the NFL to handicap games. I'm going to use it here a little bit to handicap the game. Bear, do you have a number for me? James Franklin is a favorite between 7 and 24 points. I think 90% against the spread, like some insane number.
Yeah,
80%.
There was a recent game where it didn't get there, and I have to go back and look and see what it was. But yeah, no, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's somewhere around 90% cover. I think it was like 14-1-1 or something like that at one point earlier in this year. So it has been. This is again the wheelhouse type of game.
Yeah.
The Minnesota game he didn't get. That was the one I was thinking of. They did not cover at Minnesota in this role. So whatever it is, it's like 15-16, 2 and what's. But it's been a very prosperous angle for Penn State backers. It's one thing too. I was thinking about, and I'm sure a lot of Penn State fans were kind of upset with me for whatever reason, just bringing this up again. But Penn State kind of viewed on the weaker side, the easier path maybe to get to a national title or win a national title. And you go back under James Franklin. To win the national title, they're going to have to beat 3 top 10 teams in a row in the quarters, the semi, and the final. That's as many top 10 teams as Penn State has beaten in 11 years under James Franklin. They're 3-19 against top 10 teams since 2014. And in the last 8 years, since 2017, they're 1-14 against top 10 teams. So they're either going to have to beat 2 more top 10 teams in a span of 3 consecutive games than they have in the last 8 years to win a national title. So it's a great opportunity either to squash that narrative and make me look like a bigger fool than I am, or just kind of reaffirm like this is kind of the state of Penn State's program, and they unfortunately keep that miserable track record going.
Yeah, the question for me is SMU big enough to hold up against the run? Because you pointed out the stats against Oregon. Penn State ran the ball for 300 yards, 7 yards per play. Allen and Singleton both over 100 yards, 10 yards per carry. And that's against Oregon. And SMU is just smaller.
93 yards a game, 93 yards a game rush. Again, I know it's a big step up.
Yeah.
But they 64, they held Clemson at 2 yards a carry. I mean, Maffa and Klubnik. So it's interesting.
Yeah. And I think, if anything, I'd lay it in this spot, but I haven't. I think, look, there's only 4 games this weekend. Usually a typical college football weekend, we're talking 60, 65 games. The lines are going to be tighter. The lines are going to be more accurate. Maybe you dip into the props. Looking at DraftKings, Allen is 6-1 to run for 100-plus yards. Singleton's plus 340. If you parlay them, they're 18-1, which, hey, that sounds crazy, but they both did it against Penn State. So maybe the props, maybe an Allen over rushing, maybe a Singleton over rushing. I do think they'll have some success on the ground here, Sammy.
I want to remind everybody what we talked about last week. All of these favorites are much better than all of these dogs, and all of the favorites are at home. And look, it's very possible every single favorite wins. And I know the books in Vegas are telling me, like, we are so fearful of none of these dogs winning outright, and we have to pay out all these money line parlays. So if you're thinking about it, at 2-1, I don't think it's the worst idea. Notre Dame to win, Penn State to win, Texas to win, Ohio State to win. It pays 2-1 right now at DraftKings. Wink, wink, DraftKings. I do think it's a good bet, though. Like, I don't love any of these dogs to win outright. Do I like Clemson to cover? Yes. Could SMU cover? Yes. But I don't have an edge in a lot of these games, guy. 10 years ago, I'm betting all these games, side and total. Today, I have one bet. It's Clemson plus 12.5. Now, I'd like Notre Dame to win the game and keep that future alive. But would we be surprised if these favorites just swept? I certainly wouldn't.
Not at all.
It's square, but it's like, yep. So what? Who cares?
We wouldn't be surprised, yet at the same time, and I tweeted this out before the Memphis West Virginia game on Tuesday night. If you go back the last 3 years, and I can go back further, but I need to just kind of eliminate 2020 from the filter because that year was a debacle, and nothing from that happened that year should matter and count. And I'm sure Alabama fans will disagree with me. But if you go back last 3 years, 47 under, if you limit it to single-digit underdogs, so that kind of takes Clemson out of the equation, 47 underdogs covered the 101 bowl games. So 46%, 46.5. Of those 47 dogs that covered, 37 won outright, 78.7%. That obviously before the Memphis West Virginia game. So it kind of says that if you think a dog can win, you should probably put at least like a half a unit or so on the money line on these dogs, because it's been a very profitable angle. So while we think all these favorites are going to win and maybe not cover, but none of them are going to lose, I don't know. Again, recent history says at least one of them will lose, but you did hit on something important, Sammy. And the one
they're
thing,
all at home.
They're all at home. These are not neutral site games.
Right.
They're all at home, and they do have a big advantage. So I think we got all of our college football playoff games this weekend out of the way. It's so hard to. It's funny, Sammy. You were talking about 10 years ago. I'd have side total everything on every single one of these games. It was the same thing with me. I used to love. Before all these players were opting out, and you play amateur psychologist, and you're kind of able to figure out who cares, who wants to be there, who doesn't. And now it's like I have such a hard time playing so many of these bowl games early on, unless you get the information about players who are going to stay or players who are not going to stay, and it hasn't necessarily been reflected in the line. So I haven't found a ton early on that I really like, but there was one game that I did play just before, and I have no idea. And again, maybe I'm walking into a trap, or I'm going to walk off a cliff here, and it's not going to work out well for me. But how in the hell is Oklahoma a 7-point favorite over Navy? I think for all intents and purposes, Oklahoma's season ended when they upset Alabama, and they made them bowl eligible. They got blown out at LSU. Your quarterback's in the portal. Your best wide receivers in the portal. You're down a bunch of guys. And now you're going to tell me you're going to be fired up to play Navy, a team now with a healthy Blake Horvath, the quarterback, a team that just blew out Army, a team that's going to be fired up to play an SEC team in a bowl game on the heels of beating Army. Like, I think this is just an all-time awful spot for Oklahoma. Like, I couldn't believe that this number was still 7, because I was actually sitting there watching the Army-Navy game on Saturday, and like, I missed out Oklahoma. I missed out on Oklahoma at Navy. How the hell did I miss out? And then I saw the number was still 7 and still right around plus 200 or so on the money line. And I'm like, this is too good. This looks too good to be true, but I'm walking right into it. I took Navy on the money line. I took Navy plus 7. Like, I don't know if you guys agree, disagree, concern, or if there's anything else that you guys may have liked in one of these non-marquee bowls, I guess I will say.
Well, you did beat the market on that one, because I'm looking at some places have 6 on Oklahoma right now. So the 7s are long gone. Still plenty of 6.5 in the market. I don't want to oversimplify it, but Venables D against Navy's D, quarterback play probably not going to be that great. I mean, receivers at Oklahoma are either hurt or opted out or transferring. How does Navy move the ball against Oklahoma's front? They still have a pretty good front in Oklahoma. My total is like 39. So at 44, yeah, I'm probably going to play some under, even at 44. Starting to tick down to 43.5, but man, this is like 17-14, 20-17 to me. I think that's very likely in this game.
Yeah, one I'm looking at, Nebraska laying 2.5. You could just take it on the money line, which I think is an important reminder. If you're going to lay 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, you think, oh, it's not going to come down to that. A lot of these teams in bowl games go for 2 when they're, we're down 7, a minute left, we'll score a touchdown. I mean, who cares? It's the Weed Eater Bowl or whatever. Let's just go for 2, and that means the game lands on 1 either way, or 2 if there's time for another field goal. So if you like the short dog, take the 1.5, 2, 2.5, because those points are valuable. If you like the favorite, lay the money line. I just think Nebraska will be motivated. They haven't had a lot of bowl trips, a lot of bowl success with Rule here. I think they're building something. So Nebraska will be one I'm looking at. Colorado, BYU, how much of those guys play? Deion swears, hey, they're going to play, but what does that mean they're going to play? They're going to play exactly a quarter, a drive, the whole game. That one's interesting. UNC now with the whole Belichick thing and him watching over things. I would think UNC would be motivated after, when that line opens. We didn't know Belichick was going to be the coach, and that game meant more, I think, on paper to UConn. So maybe UNC is worth a look there. But yeah, it's to your point. The playoffs are great. It's so exciting to have 4 games this weekend, but these playoff games, Geoff, have really cannibalized the bowl season.
By the way, Will, what's with the slander on Shreveport and the Pool Weed Eater and Independence Bowl?
Oh, there was no slander. It was a compliment.
Don't let us get Timmy B on you now.
No, it was complimentary.
Okay, that's what I want to hear. Geoff, sorry, go ahead.
So Washington State has no head coach, no OC, no DC, no quarterback.
Sounds like Oregon State last year in the bowl.
It does. There's no one there in the Holiday Bowl this coming Friday, or I guess it's next Friday. I know Syracuse favored by 12, and it's a big number, but I haven't seen if Kyle McCord's playing yet. Who knows? But he says Fran Brown says he's playing. In fact, we don't opt out around here. So what is that? Is that quote he said? I mean, I don't know how you don't lay it with Syracuse here, guys. I mean, what is Washington State playing for? But besides Mateer transferring, their starting running back transferred, their best wide receiver, their best offensive lineman, their best corner, their safety, defensive tackle. Look at the list right now. I just don't know how you don't make a play on Syracuse, even with the big number here. So I'm looking at that game. I always like G5 team against Power 4 team. It's not a be-all, end-all, but I don't know if I'm laying it with. I don't know if I'm taking it with Tulane. I don't know if I like them against Florida in this spot. So, but I do like Syracuse minus 12. And I haven't played many. I played Memphis. I gave that as a best bet last week. That's where I'm sitting with the bowl games for now.
Any interest we talk about trying to get ahead of moves? We noticed a couple of players from Alabama kind of going portal. Like, do we think there's a chance that either Jalen Milroe opts out and goes draft, or Ryan Williams maybe goes portal? Like you could probably get a pretty healthy money line return here on Michigan. I know Michigan's got some guys out as well, but you talk about motivation and such. Like Bama, that used to be a great play against. We saw it with Georgia a couple times, and Alabama way back when in the Sugar Bowl against Utah, like the SEC team that doesn't make the playoff, kind of with a lick the stamp effort in their bowl game. Any interest, anyone in either Michigan plus the points or a little Michigan money line?
Does Milroe get the promise from your Jets, Bear, that he's going to be picked in the top 10 or top 15 and be the future of the Jets? Is that what you're telling me?
Who's taking him in the top 10 or 15? Seriously,
you'd be surprised. Have you looked at the National Football League? Who gets drafted in the top 12 or 15?
How's that worked out for a lot of those players?
It worked out great for everyone but the Jets. No, I don't know, man. I think these quarterbacks are going to get drafted. We have obviously months and months to go to, but look at the top 5 in the draft order right now. 4 need a quarterback. The other one is Jacksonville. I mean, they'll be certain they're going to stay with Trevor Lawrence if they hire a new GM and a head coach. So I think that these quarterbacks are looking at that possibility. I will say the interesting thing about this bowl season compared to other ones is it does feel like coaches looked at last year and they saw a team like Florida State that had everyone opt out of their bowl game. Now, for good reason, like we get why that happened. And then we saw how badly they played this season, where a team like Oregon had their starters play in the bowl game. They didn't need Bo Nix to play, Bucky Irving to play, all these guys to play. And they played well, and they propelled them into playing maybe better in 2024. Deion Sanders said this. He said, I looked around the country and saw teams that had players opt out, how their seasons went in 2024. I saw teams that had players playing the bowl game. And I do wonder if that's a trend this year where coaches are trying to get players to just stay and play because it's a culture thing. And Deion has mentioned this. Like, I don't think Shedeur and Travis should play. Like, that to me seems ludicrous. But I get it if you're trying to build a program and that's the type of mindset you want, Will, that seems to be a trend we're seeing in 2024. Like, hey, guys, stick around for one more game. Let's finish this right.
Yeah, I mean, you just end up, though, when you're betting, you're not even betting on a football game. You're trying to bet and get ahead of the news, and it's a guessing game, Sammy. And that's just, man, it's hard enough to win betting when you're just, looking at Team A versus Team B. But when you're trying to get ahead and guess on the news, it's not that easy.
Yeah, I got a couple invites this year to be in these $500 bowl pools. I said, you got to be kidding me. You think I'm paying $500 to enter this? There's no way. Like, who knows? Who cares? Who knows who's playing more than ever? I know Geoff doesn't like our Cal bet tonight. We took 3.5 with Cal. Cal opened -5, and now Cal's plus 3.5. It's moved 8.5 points. And today UNLV says, well, it's top secret who's calling the plays. And you're like, what? Like, that's a thing? What? Because the head coach is gone. He's at Purdue. And the offensive coordinator just left. I know that Cal has quarterback issues, and their OC left, and their receiver left the portal. But the older I get, and the longer we get in the tooth on this NIL and portal, you sort of take the right angle sports approach. Let them bet the total under 158 in the basketball game, and then I'll go over 153. You bet against the big move. And I don't have like data on this, but some of these games have moved 6-7 points. And if you're laying the worst of the number, like perfect example, on Tuesday night, there are guys texting me, I got Memphis -6. What a bad beat. No. Memphis opened a pick. Memphis was -3 like Saturday. And you want to lay 5.5, 6 at kickoff? That's not a bad beat. That's a bad bet. And there's a lot of that in bowl season.
Yeah, I think UNLV should just have like people who are like Stormy and JVT who are like big UNLV fans. Maybe they let them each like call a quarter of plays. Maybe they let Dan Mullen call a quarter of plays, or maybe John Murray can call a quarter. Like have some fun.
I'll call some plays. I'll fly to Vegas and call some plays.
That would be fun. That would be embracing a bowl game. Just kind of just let a bunch of people with like no real experience go out there and have some fun and call some plays. I was just looking at another game on here too. Like, should we be laying 3.5 with Texas A&M against USC? Are we like just overlooking the obvious here? Like, is USC really gonna like care in this game?
There's some real problems at USC.
I know. That's why I'm asking the question.
I think Lincoln Riley is not going to be there for long, which is sad as an Oregon Duck fan. They might actually hire a good coach one day. But I mean, they have. If you look at the list of players that Lincoln Riley brought over as 4- and 5-star recruits the last 2 years, they're all gone. Like, they have disappeared. They have left the program. Their O-line coach just left to be the OC at Purdue. The vibes are bad, Sammy, in Los Angeles. I'm not sure. Again, you can wager on this game. Look, last year we thought the same thing too. And Miller Moss threw 6 touchdown passes and they kicked the shit out of Louisville. So I think it was Louisville. So I again, that's why bowl season is so bad. I will say, Sammy, I will amend something that I said in text message. Cal plus 3.5 is the best you're going to get. It's not a bad number in this bowl game where who knows what's going to happen when a UNLV loses their OC, their head coach. Most of their players are going to play, though, I think. We'll find out moving forward till tonight. But that's why these games are so hard, man. Who knows?
I am as unconfident, and I don't even know that unconfident is a word. I am as unconfident on these bowl games. All I know is I'm confident on 2 things. This FCS play is going to win. He likes Montana State. Let me get you the rotation number. It is 308,914. Montana State minus, you can go 7.5 in a couple places against South Dakota. So that's the FCS play, and those have been about break even this year. So tread lightly. And then, the best bet on the board, guys, is the White Sox over 49.5 wins. Give me a break.
Oh, easily over 49 wins.
49.5?
Are we doing the run line fade again this year, Sammy? Is it that bad?
They're going to be really bad, yeah. The win total's the lowest I've ever seen. But 49.5? Good Lord.
How many they win this year?
That's low.
41. But the lowest win total I've ever seen is like 54.5, 55.5. And that was Oakland last year.
I was gonna say what were the A's, like 56 or 55? I know I hit it over.
We all were talking about that in the fall, or in the winter rather. And they ended up winning 69 games, I think.
Nice.
Seriously though, 49. You think about that now. 49. And remember how many times we're texting during the season about like, okay, the White Sox are up in the 8th inning. Time to bet the opponent plus money. Like, how many games did the bullpen piss away that they could have won 55 games probably this year? As crappy as they were.
I'm not saying they're going to win 50. But 40. Well, I guess they need to win 50 to go over 49.5.
Yes, they would.
They lost 41 last year. So like people are, they're not 8 wins better. Well, the win total was in the mid 60s coming into the year. So they underachieved by 22 games. I don't think they can't win 50.
Who wants to sit on a White Sox win total for 10 months?
I do. I will.
I just like Will tweeting through all the Yankees moves lately. He's just tweeting his way through it. It's working his way, sharing his emotions as they make the trades inside. I don't think Will's very excited about the Yankees moves.
Oh no, Bear. Cody Bellinger and Juan Soto. That's a wash. That might even be an upgrade. The Yankee fans, their ability to cope with losing a player. You know what it is? Yankee fans, their whole life, they always get the best players until recently, and they're not used to being jilted. They're not used to being dumped like they were dumped by Soto, and they're just looking for the rebound. Now it's, oh man, we got Bellinger. We're better off without Soto. They're out of their mind. No. Devin Williams is a nice pickup. Fried's a nice pick. They picked up the pieces relatively well. I just don't know if they have enough punch. But this idea that Bellinger for Soto is, hey, it's fine. It's going to cancel out. He hasn't been good in 5 years. Look at his on-base percentage, 250, 270, 320. He'll hit some homers because he can pull and lift in that stadium. But this idea that, that's a washer, you're going to get 80, 90% of Soto's production, people are in for a rude awakening.
We had some monster tickets on him a few years back, too, to win the home run title. Remember when he was leading in August and they had like 2 homers over the final 30 games, and we got beat. So I hate Cody Bellinger for that reason.
It feels a little Joey Gallo-ish.
It does. Okay, I can't wait for the hot stove talk. This is going to be for the baseball preview now. I think we just talked ourselves and our bosses into a baseball preseason betting preview here with all of our. I might have to go bet the White Sox win total right now over 49.5. Is that up widespread? Is that up at DK or is it somewhere else?
It's at DK. It's at Perfect. 4 different places.
Beautiful.
That is
White Sox over.
I haven't looked at any of these over-unders. I got to look. I haven't looked at any of these. What are the Mets? Do you know offhand?
I can. If you
I was just curious. My guess is low 90s, 92 and a half.
I was going to say 90.
It was 92 and
I was going to say 93. Feels about right. It's a good division. That's going to be hard for anybody to go.
91 and a half.
Yeah, they're going to need some pitching too. I don't think they're done shopping, but I don't think the Montas and the Clay Holmes rotation I mean, I know Soto, and you're going to maybe bring Alonso back, and it'll be a good lineup. Like you said, good division. I don't know how much starting pitching they have.
What's the Dodgers? 107?
102.5.
Oh, my.
Feels light, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah, it does. Jeez, I hate that team so much.
All right. On that note, appreciate you guys. Why isn't there a Christmas in 2024 or 2025? Because Daddy bet the White Sox over 49.5. Until next time, appreciate you.
Back from a gambling group chat, got that Montana State wager locked in against the Yotes this weekend, Bear. It is cold in Bozeman.
Oh, it's
cold in
great.
South Dakota as well, but can't wait to watch these FCS semifinals.
Bozeman was the coldest I ever was on the college game day set when we were there for the Brawl of the Wild a few years back. Really, really cool place. I remember about a half hour before the show started, the power generator just completely froze.
Oh, no.
And we had no power to the set. My laptop basically froze and broke. But that was an awesome college game day memory for me on the road. We wanted to get there for a while. To be there for that Brawl of the Wild was a special show.
Well, I'm hoping to give you something special here with my fade
Please
of the
do.
week, Bear, and it's presented by DraftKings Sportsbook here. I'm going Syracuse minus 12 against Washington State. Look, one angle that I play in bowl season, Bear, is I take a team who loses everyone and wager against them and when they're playing a team that wants to win this game. So Syracuse, we mentioned earlier in the show, Fran Bound, their head coach, said, hey, man, everyone's playing. Well, guess who's not playing for Washington State? Everyone, right? So starting quarterback, running back, wide receiver, their right tackle, their corner, their best safety. And guess what? Their coach took a job at Wake Forest. Their OC is now at Oklahoma. Their DC left. The quarterback's coach left. The running back coach left. Everyone's gone, Bear. So I will fade the Cougars in this spot here. Give me Syracuse laying the 12.
Yeah, it feels like Sammy was talking about like a money line anchor for something else too. Like, Sarah, you money line sometimes and get risky with favorites in bowl season, but it sure looks like Syracuse is a team that's going to have to try very hard to lose. Hopefully, I'm going to try very hard to lose. My best bet, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, and I alluded to it earlier as well. I like Ohio State minus the 7 against Tennessee here. 7 juiced at DraftKings, 7.5. At other places, if you want to lay 110, I think the Buckeyes. I think there's a lot of recency bias here. People remember the Michigan game, blew the game as a big favorite. Will Howard did not play great, but I think there's a lot to learn from in that game. That now you're going to get the ball in the hands of your best players on the perimeter, Ibuka and Jeremiah Smith, to try and negate that rush defense up front from Tennessee. Look, I still think Ohio State is very, very, very capable of winning 4 games and winning the national championship. Look, Tennessee can go there and win. They very easily could, and a lot of people are predicting them to do that, and a lot of people like them plus the points here. But I think this number in most places staying north of 7 at 7.5 leads me to believe that the books are comfortable with their exposure on Tennessee, and has me feeling that Ohio State may be the right side here. So I am laying the 7 or 7.5, depending on where you want to play it, with the Bucks.
If you can try and play here, I think everyone is sort of on Tennessee.
Shocking. Contrarian for me. Well, imagine that.
I'll tell you, like I said earlier, Bear, if I see them the opening drive, pass, I might hop in Ohio State. You know, it's going to be near 11, 12, 13, right? I mean, 2 touchdowns if they score early. So I think that shows you, if they decide to play the game plan they need to play, they're going to win this game, and they're going to cover. They're better than Tennessee. All right, my best bet presented by DraftKings Sportsbook is the Penn State Nittany Lions here, minus the 8.5 against SMU. We talked about earlier, James Franklin and his team tend to win and cover these games when they're between 7 and 24 points. And I think they're better. I think the weather matters here. I think that they have matchups in the trenches that can overwhelm SMU. SMU, by the way, average third down distance, Bear, one of the worst in the country. I would not want to get in a game where you are facing Penn State's defensive line in a pass rush situation. I like the creativity of their game plan against Oregon. If they can carry that over against SMU, they're going to score points in this game. So I like Penn State here to cover this number at home. It's actually my sort of one favorite. I like to cover the number this weekend.
Yeah, we'll see if we get any upsets. Like I said, people were talking about upsets in the playoff, the reason for expanding it. Sammy P made a case to play a 14 money line parlay with the favorites. So we'll see what happens. Appreciate those guys, as always, for the gambling group chat. Great kicking around with you as well, Geoff. Thanks, everyone, again, for downloading on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, checking us out on the Bear Bets YouTube channel, and, of course, on FS1. For Sammy, for Will, for Geoff, I'm Bear. Plus you bet, more you lose when you win.